classical music is over 2000 years old, tracing its roots back to the Natya Shastra, an ancient epic that was written somewhere between the 2nd century BC and the 2nd century AD. A majority of the compositions that we classical musicians sing were composed somewhere between the 14th and 19th centuries. The instruments that we use in a classical music concert are also several hundreds of years old. And it would be no exaggeration if I said that the majority of the audience at an Indian classical music concert looks something like this. So with all this history, tradition, rules, and constraints, what is it about our traditional art forms that is so appealing? Why do young people like me, okay, whether you consider me young or not is a different question, but why do young people take to the classical art forms? Why is classical music not dead? Why do I care? I'm a Carnatic or South Indian classical musician, and through my performances, workshops, and projects, my aim is to try to help people connect in a better way with their culture. I started learning classical music and dance at the age of 5, mainly because of the environment in my family where my mother was a music teacher, and there would be kids and elders of all ages coming home to learn music. I thought everybody sang, so I did too. And then, the magic of the stage. As a kid, it was so awesome to have the lights focused on me, to hear my voice in the microphone and the applause at the end. It was truly magical. We lived in Kuwait, in the Gulf, before the Gulf War, and this led to some interesting cross-cultural interactions. And then, the Gulf War happened. While as a child of 9, I was too young to understand the ramifications of war, this event brought me unexpectedly back to India, where I was immersed in a world of music and dance, learning from senior and respected gurus. I began to discover the intricacies of the music, the secrets of the compositions, the nuances of the ragas, the structure of the talas. And I began to realize that all these rules and framework were but an outline within which one could paint a beautiful picture of many colors. For example, if you would take the structure of a raga, Mohana, it would be Sari ga pada sa, sada pa ga ri sa. But within that, there are infinite possibilities. Sari sari ga ri ga pa da pa da sa da sari sari ga da ga ri ga sari da sa pa sa da ri sa ga ri sa sa da pa ga ri ga pa da sa sari ri ga. In parallel, I continued to enjoy the academic rigor, passing through school with flying colors. An opportunity to study in Singapore for 2 years on a scholarship was grabbed with open arms. And it was in Singapore, when I was away from the music and the culture that I had so grown to love, that I realized, like it or not, music and the arts was going to be a part of my life from then on. It was like an addiction that was hard to break. Because by then, music had become much more than just something I did. It was something that fundamentally defined me. Music was my first love, my passion, my dream, my life. I decided to return to India and completed an engineering degree and an MBA from IIM Bangalore. Alongside, I performed widely across the country and the world, experiencing life and absorbing influences from a tiny little village in Karnataka to a remote town in South America. As a child, I remember reading the biography of a famous ballet dancer, Anna Pavlova, who said that after one performance, she suddenly discovered her life's mission was to bring joy to the lives of people through her art. I realized I was so fortunate to be an artist, to be in a position where for a few minutes, people could forget their worries, their concerns, their cares, and immerse themselves in my music. During the course of my MBA, I also did an internship at a prestigious Wall Street investment bank in New York. It was also during my stay in the US that I discovered another love. Upon the completion of my internship, I received 2 proposals. One was an offer to continue work full-time at the investment bank, and the other was a proposal of marriage. Both were exciting proposals, but I realized, again, both would take me away from this culture that I loved. And then I remembered Mirabai, the 14th century saint poet, who was faced with a similar dilemma, whether to choose a life of material comforts as a princess or whether to choose a life of music, dance, and poetry. I turned down one offer unconditionally and accepted the other, the marriage proposal, with a condition that I would continue to live and work in India. My experience with this and similar decisions led me to realize we are all confronted with such choices, whether to buy a flashy video game or an engrossing book, whether to marry a rich partner or a penniless soulmate, whether to take up that lucrative job offer or to satisfy one's thirst for learning by studying further. I presented the life of Meera as a one-woman show where I viewed her not just as a saint or a poet, but as a truly liberated woman who had the courage to take a difficult decision in the hope that this would inspire others to take such similar decisions. As I continued in my artistic journey, I began to question some of the fundamental premises on which South Indian classical music was based. Does all Carnatic music need to be devotional? Can we not sing of love, life, loss, nature? I presented my views, a case for the introduction of newer subject themes in Carnatic music in a popular music magazine, and this was hotly debated for months. I even received far less invitations to perform at temples because the purists somehow assumed I was trying to go away from tradition, while all I was trying to do was just present another perspective. Furthering my agenda, I presented a concert titled Olave Jeevana Sakshatkara, loosely translated as Love is Life's Fulfillment, where all the compositions were around different facets of love. So on one hand, while I presented the technical aspects such as Raga Alapana, Kalpanaswara, which are part of a kacheri or a classical music concert, the composition spoke about the love of a mother for her child or a man for a woman. The overwhelming response that I received to this experiment further strengthened my belief that by singing of everyday matters, by singing of relevant issues, by making that connection, that's when the art will truly come alive. I've continued my efforts to try and bring the world of classical music closer to the everyday world by conducting workshops at corporate organizations and universities, where I try and deconstruct music and try to stimulate creativity through exposure to the traditional art forms. Our traditional music forms have the power to elevate, to heal, to move. They contain within them the wisdom of generations. And yet, how many of today's generation are really connected with their culture? How many working professionals today have the patience to sit through an hour-long rendition of a single composition? Do young people today know the difference between quality of sound and quality of music? Are people of today aware that exposure to music can improve faculties of memory, discipline, and concentration? How do we get today's generation to connect with our culture? In other words, why should you care? The two most ubiquitous instruments in Indian classical music, the violin and the harmonium, are not even Indian, but rather imports from the Western tradition. Perhaps I could tell you that even the popular music that you listen to today bears the unmistakable stamp and influence of classical and folk traditions of eras gone by. Inspiring stories of struggle, such as the story of this young boy who ran away from home at the age of 11 and worked as a domestic help in the house of rich patrons, all in search of a guru, and then went on to become one of India's most celebrated voices, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. Perhaps you would care if you could learn the secrets of ragas and talas yourselves through computer-based interactives, discover the music within you. It is with this vision that we have embarked on a journey to set up India's first experiential music museum, the Indian Music Experience in Bangalore, to increase the understanding and appreciation of Indian music from the traditional to the contemporary. Starting with the sound garden, where through musical sculptures, people will have an experience of how sound is produced firsthand through wind chimes, bells, gongs, and reeds. The introductory surround theatre will play a film that showcases the diversity of Indian music, from the sounds of the rural heartland to the contemporary beats of today's young India. The core of the museum experience is in the multimedia exhibit gallery space, where, through immersive environments, interactive installations, and mini theatres, we aim to bring songs and stories from across the country into your ears and your hearts. Each of the 8 multimedia galleries explores a different facet of music such that everybody will find a form of music that speaks to them. Curated by experts in the field and designed by internationally renowned interpretive planners, the Indian music experience will truly be a blend of the old and the new. We want young people to understand that music has played an instrumental role in the formation of our national identity by bringing alive stories about seminal moments in India's history. The Instruments Gallery will showcase a wide variety of musical instruments, thus paying tribute to the instrument maker, who is an important part of the music ecosystem. The studio environments will allow you to step into the shoes of a musician and see what it feels like to record a track. From the gramophone to the iPhone, the way we've listened to music has changed immeasurably. The IIM will also feature a performance space for live performances. We also pay tribute to the various musical legends of different genres through our Hall of Fame, in the hope that future musicians who walk through the portals of our center will walk away inspired. We expect that several thousands of young people will visit the museum once it's complete, and this is our way of passing on our rich cultural tradition to the next generation. Our traditional art forms will never die. They have survived wars, famines, technological disruptions, and have absorbed each change with dignity and have evolved to become stronger and better. Yet, now more than ever before, we need to be mindful of this rich legacy we have inherited, such that future generations can continue to retain their connect with culture and identity. Yes, I and every other musician out there needs to ensure that our music is as technically superior as it is emotionally relevant. We need to ensure that we have clarity of message along with the purity of the notes. And ultimately, as long as it can continue to touch our hearts and move our souls, classical music will continue to have a relevant place in all our lives. I end my talk with a medley of 2 musical compositions. One is a traditional tilana, and the other is a hymn for global harmony. And I'm fortunate to be accompanied today by Solomon, a renowned music producer and pianist. Thank you. Tanadim tadim tadirana, tanom tadim 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 tanom tadim tanom tadim tadim tatanadim tadim tadirana, tanom tadim tatanadim tadim tadirana. Nadradim tom tadim tadim takadim takitadim, nadradim tom tadim tadim takadim takitadim, takatacham tanadim takatacham tanadim takatajam tanadim tadim tadirana tanom tadim tatanom tadim tatanom tadim tatanom tadim tatanom tadim tatanom tadim tanadim tadim tadirana tanadim tadim tadirana tanadim tadim tadirana. Maitrim bhajata akhilarjetri Maitrim bhajata akhilarjetri Atmavadeva paranapi pashyata Atmavadeva paranapi pashyata Yuddham tyajata spardham tyajata tyajata pareshwakramamakramanam Maitrim bhajata akhilarjetri Janani prithvi kamadukhaste Janani prithvi kamadukhaste Janako devah sakala-dayalu Janako devah sakala-dayalu Damyata datta dayadvam janata Damyata datta dayadvam janata Shreyo bhuyat sakala janana Shreyo bhuyat sakala janana Shreyo bhuyat sakala jananam Shreyo bhuyat sakala jananam